I want to move on to this next part of the webinar and, what you can offer besides competitive pay to increase that staff retention and loyalty. I think that this is a really interesting kind of hot button issue that we're seeing here. Dana, I'm curious, once we hire the right people, we need to keep them engaged, right? So how can we promote engagement right off the bat before day one? And we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I think, you mentioned before they even walk in the door. So what can be done in that interim of, hey, you got the job offer, to, hey, your day starts on, August 16th, let's say?
Yeah, great question. And I think those are key time periods in the employee life cycle. There's actually 3 phases before the employee even walks in the door. There's the attraction stage, the expectancy stage, the recruitment stage, and those are even before the employee has walked in the door. And HR has a critical role there in making sure that we're engaging employees across those 3 stages. Mm-hmm. So in the attraction stage, what are employees hearing about us? What's the word on the street about our organization, about our company? Do they have a good impression of us? We want to make sure that our employer brand is top notch and that employees are hearing good things and that they have good impressions about us before they even walk in the door. In the recruitment stage, are we answering employees' questions? Are we putting our best foot forward? Are we shining, making sure our culture shines through and the best things about what we have to offer are shining through? And finally, in the expectancy stage, when we've already hired them, but they haven't started yet, are we sending them as many as we can in pre-boarding materials, tools and resources, knowledge, things to get the employee excited. I can't wait to get to my first day of work. So we're providing that for them. And we're also hearing from them during that stage. What are their wants, needs, and expectations to be successful in their new role? What are they things that they're looking for? And helping to start that dialogue between employees and managers and between employees and HR so we can set them up for success.
I think that's a great point. I actually sent out a poll question that's slowly being filled out, but I think we could kind of see some patterns here so far. I asked, aside from competitive pay, which of the following would most help increase staff retention and loyalty? And the options are opportunity for career development and training, recognition and reward program, flexible scheduling and work-life balance, improved communication, transparency. And answers are truly all over the board right now. A lot of people have different priorities. And I think this, again, kind of comes down to who you are as an HR manager or, director of HR, just the lone HR person at your company, and, what you value, and more importantly, what your employees value. And I think the only way to know that is truly by talking with them. Chason, I'm curious, looking at this next slide here, when it comes, let me switch it over. When it comes to, creating this retention environment and a streamlined onboarding process, how can HR use tech to make it easier on the new employees?
Yeah, so I want you to consider what the typical experience is of people joining your organization right now. Mm-hmm. Their entire world, everything they have, and this is certainly the fault of consumer-driven organizations, is at the fingertips. They don't have to think about what 80s music video, has, dolphins or red balloons. They just find it. They have a question, they have an answer, they get it. What is that experience aligned with what you're providing the employee? Is the glide path of their onboarding and orientation and recruitment such that, it is a friction-free experience? And I can assure you, as small businesses, it's not. And they get, you think, well, we've provided X, Y, and Z, but for them and their experience, it's certainly not. So if we think about in the ideal retention environment, it's the intersection of why employees join, the motivational drivers to get them in the door, then the gravity, the attractors to keep them there, why they stay, and then making sure that we're cognizant of why they could leave, then that combination allows us to create the guardrails and to shape and prioritize the action paths that are going to retain top talent. And by the way, you don't retain everyone, just for the record. For everyone who's here, and by most accounts, yes, I think we are the world's retention experts, we're the first ones to say, not everyone should work there.
Yeah. Absolutely
not. 87% of high performers have thought about leaving because of a low performer. Think about that. And is anyone here, right, putting up with a low performer because, well, that's what we got, it's what we could get, it's who showed up, right? It's absolutely not worth it. And it's costing more. That cost of a bad hire is significant. And so when we're onboarding and orienting, if we are able to show them the best of the organization, if we're able to convey what is going to help them to be successful, because people aren't going to fail for that long and say, I'm out of here. Is it a hard job? Let them know it's a hard job. Show them how it gets easier. Give them the tools, the tricks, the tips to do this job like a rock star. And then they'll do those things, because for the most part, the people you want to be good at their job. You're not building orientation to the person who's bad at the job, right? No, you're building an offboarding. You're getting those people out of the organization really quickly. The onboarding is built for the high performer, giving them the glide path to succeed and the direction and the beacon of what high performance is. And those who want that, who desire that, they're going to rise to that occasion.
I think the audience had like a collective sigh at we've all dealt with that low performer mentality. And it's really a downer, to say the least, when you're trying to do everything you can to make sure that the organization and that your value is actually being utilized in the company. And when you're partnered up with somebody and, there's an employee kind of in the mix that isn't necessarily meeting that expectation, it sucks. It's the worst. And I think with this retention environment that we're seeing here, thanks to Retensa's amazing graphics, we can see, these 3 sections that creates that amazing retention environment. And I want to specifically point to the recruitment strategy. And I think that's where technology can really, really help here. If we're talking whether ATS system, whatever it is, whatever for your, or premium technology tools that you're utilizing, I think that section right there is really key, again, to have that supporting aspect. I'm curious, Chason, if you could give any examples of some technologies that require or don't require a credit card necessarily to provide this better retention environment for organizations.
So one of the key elements here that why employees leave is knowing with confidence, not being distracted by the noise, but knowing the signal. Exit Pro has free exit interviews. So you never have to guess. You never have to wonder. But you absolutely, with certainty, can weed out the vocal minority, say, oh, you don't pay us enough. We're not getting paid enough. Let me tell you, that is easy to tell your manager. It's easy to tell HR that I'm not getting paid enough. But in reality, it's Kevin. Okay?
God damn it, Kevin.
Oh.
It's always Kevin.
We all got a Kevin, right? We all got a Kevin. And what is the implication of that? And what does that mean? And the reality is that if we've got the ability to collect and coalesce information and then to trend and track, because good, reporting tools can actually give you a trajectory of past and present and future. Now I can do something about it, and I can go in and say, look, it's not personal. K-Dog, here's the deal, or Kevin's manager, or whomever it is, but we need to talk about this, right? It's here. It's not me. It's not Marge and Michelle, right? And it's not what I think, right? It's not Stacy. This is what's being said in the organization. It depersonalizes and allows me to reach in to a conversation that is, it's intimate and it's courageous to say, like, let's figure this out together, or whatever it is. Like, location, our hybrid, rules, or our location and the commute for people who need to take the bus or public transportation, all of a sudden that begins to be more pervasive. But just stop guessing. Guessing is expensive when it comes to employees.
That's so true. And, going actually back to this poll question, I want to quickly point out that a lot of people are saying, in terms of like some aspects beyond competitive pay are things like flexible scheduling and work-life balance principles. And, those hybrid work models in some instances really work, of course, within hourly wage industries. Kind of got to be boots on the ground, unfortunately. But a lot of the times, things like flexible scheduling, the ability to shift swap. We actually had a client, 12 Oaks Parking, and they started at around 100 locations and, around 200 employees. And they're actually able to scale because of technology, because of using Workforce and their flexible scheduling. And they offered beyond just competitive pay, beyond just raising wages that inevitably probably would have hurt them at the end of the day. So they wouldn't be able to scale and improve that ROI. And it's all right. It's a snowball effect. We're kind of getting more on the operational weeds here, but I think there's something to be said about offering beyond just that competitive pay. That would be really, really beneficial. Things like, again, shift swapping, flexible scheduling, that sort of thing. And it's all kind of in one system, making sure that it's seamless, decluttering your desk, making sure your peace of mind is still intact, and people like Kevin aren't ruining your peace.
So, and let me add, because I think you touched upon that with something, which is shift management. For the hourly worker and the workforce is managing hourly workers, right? Knowing ahead of time when I'm at work and for how long is a critical element of attraction and retention. The reality is that without tools like this, you're likely throwing stuff out hours or days ahead, and that doesn't allow the modern person to plan their time, and time is the most valuable asset. Time is the thing that everybody wants to have more of. Every single study, anywhere, indicates that giving people more time or more control over their time, has residual positive effect equal to or greater than money. So 25-cent raise or time off. I mean, no question. Everybody asks, better control of your scheduling when you want it to be, versus a raise. They'll take that. So if you have that at your fingertips, if you can do that for that hourly worker in particular, those will compel them to stay longer.
That's a great point. And again, I think going back to COVID, it really changed the trajectory of that and, what people prioritized. And they are starting to look, employees are getting really savvy with knowing what benefits are and kind of what programs they should be looking out for. And if you offer something like that, I think that's huge. And people notice that, no matter how, what the age demographic is of your employees are, they notice those things. And I think that's really telling of the company itself.